Hey folks, this is Mickey G,
And I'm Rodney T.
and welcome to another edition of Old Fools Talking Old Schools. Hey Rodney, I want to ask you something. Have you seen that latest list of the 500 greatest songs ever that was put out by Rolling Stone magazine?
No, I haven't seen that, man. I usually don't partake with Rolling Stone because they ain't talking to me.
Well, Rolling Stone, after I guess like 17 years, went out and did what they call an opinion survey. So it's a survey of really everybody except who buys music. It's producers, artists, uh, folks in the music media, folks of that nature, and ask them to rate the top 500 songs ever, regardless of genre and things of that nature. And it was interesting. I looked at it and I can't say a whole lot about the song that they named number one because I'm not going to talk about the Queen, but they determined that the number one song ever was "Respect" by Aretha Franklin. Now, once again, I have a lot of respect for Aretha Franklin. I have a lot of respect for the song "Respect." But would that have been my number one song? Probably not. Uh, but then again, when you have that many different people giving their opinion, you can come up with something obviously a lot different than what you would think. And I don't know if the current environment with the biopic and the biography on Aretha Franklin had any influence on that opinion survey. But it was a little bit ironic that, she's being, very much remembered as she should be. And that song ended up being voted the number one song ever.
See, that's what I'm talking about. They ain't talking to me. I ain't got nothing bad to say about the Queen and all that, but that's the one they figure they know that we could all relate to. The Queen was a bad sister, but number one all time. And then it's just different people have their own different thing.
Yeah.
But
because you were more of a jazz person and I know I really wasn't into jazz, so yeah, you're gonna get those different opinions.
Yeah, and that's where that's where I still live in the jazz genre. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, Aretha Franklin was a bad sister. She was a bad thing, but I was also in the R&B too. And I can honestly tell you, if it came down to the number one song for me, I don't think it would have been Aretha.
Yeah.
It's all people have different things, and different reasons why they like who they like. See, just like for me, I mean, I can go down, especially when you start talking the 70s, you talk about Lakeside, Cameo. I mean, that was back in the day where every week somebody came out with a bad album, man. What was number one to you this week may not be in week 4 because there's been a whole bunch of hits that come out there. Rick James. I mean, there's just so many different ones. Frankie Beverly. I mean, you name it.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying too. I was like, well, I guess it all depends on what you're looking at, and
yeah,
and I was okay with the number one song being Respect. I like, okay, I'll go there. But the number two song just blew me away. And the number two song in this top 100 survey that they did was "Fight the Power" by Public Enemy. Now, I sort of grew up in, we grew up in the rap age. I mean, we were there when that was first started and everything. But I'm like, Public Enemy, "Fight the Power," the number two song ever? And I'm like, nah, I mean, first of all, I just can't see Flavor Flav being number two in just about anything,
Oh man!
And is that really rock and roll? Well, I mean, I shouldn't say all of this was rock and roll. I mean, it was, it was R&B, it was jazz, rap, it was, typical rock and roll. It was all put together. It wasn't no specific genre. But I'm like, Public Enemy, number two song ever. And I'm like, I could have even maybe gone for the original Fight the Power by the Isley Brothers. I mean, if
Yeah.
they said, it was talking about, fighting, bureaucracy and going against,
Hmm.
racism and things of that nature, I could have said, yeah, I could see where that song had a deep meaning to it, even though there were some other songs that I think had probably a deeper meaning when you talk about songs that Marvin Gaye put out,
Yeah,
during
exactly.
his time,
That's what I
and
was
things,
exactly thinking about.
Mercy, Mercy Me, and
What's
all
going
things like,
on?
yeah, what's going on? Yeah, those songs.
Hmm.
I said they probably even have a different meaning. That's why I'm like
And
Public Enemy.
you got Gil Scott Heron. You got War. War
Hmm.
had some songs out there. But see, that's what I'm saying. See, with them, they want to go with name recognition. Somebody that people of color they would think can identify with. But I mean, I ain't gonna endorse no brother standing up with a damn clock around his neck. I can't take that seriously. You know, the music, the music was all right, but it ain't no number two.
I don't think so too. And he up there moving around like he got some kind of Tourette's going on and stuff. Which I mean, I
Yep.
all apology to people who I'm not talking about people who have that situation, but I mean, I'm just like, no, number two song ever. I just couldn't see that.
No.
And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, if they say this is a list of the top 100, and I must admit, like I say, Aretha I had no problem with. They had Marvin in there, and what's going on? They had, I think, Stevie with Superstition. They had Beyonce. I mean,
Hmm.
she's
Hmm.
she's she's done good. I'll give that to her.
Yeah,
But
but if it ain't a video, I don't need to hear it.
yeah, well,
You
that's what I'm
know.
saying too.
Yeah. She's a good entertainer, but singing ain't
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, and
You
that's
know.
why, like I say, I had some of
Mhm.
my thoughts about the numbers that they had that come up with, I was saying to myself, I'm like, okay, if you have a problem with what this Rolling Stone magazine opinion survey, as they call it, came up with, what do you think about the top few songs of all time? And I know I'm biased because, like I say, I came up in a different era, and you tend to have more of a prejudice toward those songs because that's what you grew up with.
Right, right.
But I'm like, okay, where would you go? What would you look at if you were doing something like that? And I was like, first one came to mind, Rapper's Delight. To me, that
Hmm.
started it off. Before the gangster rap and all the bees and hoes and all this kind of stuff, Rapper's Delight was just a typical good, down to earth rap song that they still play today. That when that intro starts, everybody knows what that song got. I mean, who else can go in and say hip hip hippity hop hip hip hop? Everybody knows that song.
Well, I mean, when you come from the era we come from, it would be heavily influenced because we only saw so much.
Right.
Our type of stuff was limited. We didn't have like a whole lot of access on television, so it would be American Bandstand based. You
Hmm.
know, I I know like for myself, the first time Prince was on there, boy, that was just something just like, man, we ain't never seen nothing like that before.
Right.
You start listening to them, and that's more than likely where it would come from because that was more influential in our time.
Right. Right.
But as time grew on, and then in the black neighborhood, we knew the artists that we like. Just like I'm a Lakeside fanatic myself. Lakeside, they can throw down whether it's a concert or whether it's just listening to their music. And there's so many other groups that I like. It would be hard for me. It all depend on the day and how much Hennessy I drank. As to as to which one would be number one. Cause I mean the Isley Brothers. It's just so many. Then the ones that we didn't forgot about. Cause our era growing up, there was a lot of one hit wonders.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
and we don't even realize it until, oh yeah, I remember that song. It was just some good music back then, and I think part of that reason was that the guys were musicians. They played their own music. Now
Hmm.
these do be sampled. My son came up here. There was some song I forget who it was by, but it had that beat from Miles J.
Right. Right.
And he's like, "Dad, boy, that's a hell of a beat right there, boy. This dude right here." I'm like, I said, "Boy, that's Miles J." He can't. He's like, who? I said, come on up here. I brought him up here to the room, the boom room, and I had to go through all those CDs. I pulled out Miles J. I just put it in, and he was like, "Oh man, I thought he was the one." Did I said, "I know you did." You know. But yeah, man, there was so many good artists out there, man. It's just it's hard to pick for me
Yeah,
anyway.
it is. As I was thinking about things, that same thing I went through. I'm like, it's just so many, and I was sort of thinking about, well, what are those that still have a little bit of credibility today, if nothing more than people just remember the tune or the lyrics or the intro or whatever. And
Hmm.
I thought about Rapper's Delight and that song, and then I thought about Car Wash, another
Hmm.
one. But when the intro comes on,
Yeah.
I mean, they still play that at ball games and things today, with that hand clap and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, Car Wash has to be up. And it was a damn good movie too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
think about all the stars at that time that was in that movie, Car Wash, Richard Pryor, the Pointer Sister, even
Hmm.
even Otis Sistruck. You remember he was in the cafe,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
That bald
was it
head.
Tracy Reed that played Mona when she walked down that street in them hot pants, boy?
Man.
Have you ever seen anybody beg so much as Franklin Ajay? He was in he was, he was in that cafe every day trying to get Mona. You remember he was sitting there at the counter and that song where Rolls Royce, I Want to Get
Mhm.
Next to You came
Yeah.
on. He
Yeah.
was in there every day trying to get next to Mona, boy.
Yeah.
Man, that made me think about Vanetta McGee, man. She was fine as hell.
I read a little blurb about her on Facebook the other day. They was talking about her and a man that played Max Julian
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
the Mac, because she was in that, and they had on there. Well, they were talking about for every there's some white actresses that they give all the being super pretty and all that other stuff too. They said for every one of them, we had Pam Grier,
Hmm.
and they named off several sisters back in them days, boy. And there was some fine sisters, but the thing that stuck out most to me was Vanetta McGee was fine as hell, and they had on there she was born in 1943,
Oh man.
and I'm like, that's a lie. Oh, I'm watching her in the '70s. That woman was fine, boy. They had the sister that was on Ice Cube's and them series that they ran there. Where they had Debo and all them. That sister was on there. Miss whatever her name was watering the lawn, bending over in Fridays.
Oh, in Fridays, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Fridays, that the woman across the street, Ice Cube and Chris Tucker was sitting there pointing at her across the street,
Right, right.
sitting there like,
Yeah,
damn.
yeah. You see that meme on Facebook a lot when somebody shows somebody.
Yeah, they had her on there, boy. And I'm like, they had her and her daughter. And that woman still looked good, man. I'm like, man, they had some nice looking women back then. That
I
that
heard.
that damn Pam Grier just cut the cake for me, boy. I did like Richard Pryor, boy, but when I heard that he was with that boy, I was like, you lucky dog, lucky
I,
dog.
I heard that. I heard that. And just from talking about this, I already see another episode of old fools talking old school. We're gonna have to talk about the old days and those fine sisters in them movies. I can already see
Man.
another episode there already. Yeah, because that's exactly right. They had Coffee Brown and all that stuff
Oh
going on back
man.
in the day, man. Oh
What's
yeah,
her name that played Cleopatra Jones?
hmm
And
hmm
man, boy, be at the movie with your mouth open the whole time. Look at
I
man.
heard that. I heard that. As I say, I can see another episode already.
Yeah, buddy.
I
Yes,
heard
sir.
that. But getting back to the songs and the music now, this
Uh-huh.
is another one I came up with. Teddy Pendergrass and Closed Door.
Yes, sir.
Now, see these young guys, Bruno Mars, Anderson Paak got that song out. I'm gonna leave the door open, hoping that you're coming through. Now, Teddy wasn't about a hoping that you coming through. She was already there, Rodney.
Yes,
He was like,
sir.
close the door. Let me get what you're waiting for. The young boys thinking about, I'm gonna leave the door open, hoping that you're gonna come through.
Yep.
Daddy was like, no, just go ahead and close the door and come on in here.
Yes, sir. Hey, that's the difference.
Yeah, back in the day, when we was over there in the dorms and stuff, that was my theme song. When I close the door on you put it on that record player and put the arm back around it so it goes keep playing over and over.
Yes, sir. Hey, just to show you the different generations. See, our whole aim was to, get a girl and take her out one-on-one and see what time it is. These kids today, they go out on group dates. I'm like, when my son told me that I'm going out with some friends, I thought you was going out with the girl. Yeah, she's going. I'm going out. I'm like, man, how you gonna talk to this lady and it's 10 of y'all? Oh no, we just that's what we do, Dad. I'm like, boy, y'all ain't gonna never meet up with nobody.
It's a whole different generation than what we came up with, brother. That was just a whole different generation. But I was just thinking about that, and I'm like, yeah, I remember back in the day, boy. Put that record on and put that arm over so they keep going back and forth, playing over and over again. See, that technology was simple back in the day.
Wasn't it though? Wasn't it?
You didn't have to punch repeat or nothing. You just put it back over. It kept going many times.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, we got other things to be thinking about.
That's right. That's right. Hey, I'm gonna throw one more at you.
Mm-hmm.
You probably don't even remember this. The Ink Spots. If I Didn't Care. You remember that song?
Not off the top of my head. Like I said, I'm the young dude in this group.
I just threw that in there. I just threw that in there, man. That was a song. You remember the Sanford and Son whenever Red Fox was singing that song? How will I be true? That was a song.
Yeah.
No, I just said that. No, man, nobody know that song. I thought about that. And I said, Fred sang that song every time he was singing a song. That song that he would sing, it was the Ink Spots. But no, that wouldn't be in my top. I just threw that in.
Yeah, dog. That's kind of reaching. That's for the old school.
Yeah, that's even older than we are. That's for sure. Yeah, I just threw that one in there. But yeah, I don't think I would even try to sit down and come up with the sort of the top 100, because like you say, it was a whole different era of music back in the day, and it wasn't always about just sort of the typical R&B music, because we came up during that time when Hall and Oates came out with Sarah Smile, and then Boz Scaggs came out with Low Down, and and what was your boy's name that came out with Bobby Caldwell?
Yeah,
was that his name?
Yeah.
What was that song he had? Bobby.
What is it? If you don't do for love?
Do for love? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, Bobby Caldwell.
Find everything.
There was some controversy about that song because his record producers, the album cover showed a guy with a hat on, just sort of covering his face.
Yeah.
Because there was some issue with, what genre really that song belonged in. Did it belong in R&B? Did it belong in rock and roll? Because he was white.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't at that time. It wasn't about just specific ethnic group. I mean, I love me some Sarah Smile back in the day.
Oh yeah. That was nice. But that just shows you the music genre when they started trying to redefine and find a niche for their own. Because rock and roll. Pretty much, they got that sister that played the guitar. Really, they call her the queen of rock and roll. But Little Richard and all them, that was rock and roll until the white companies started deciding to trying to niche to put that guitar music in and call it rock and roll. And they got rid of Little Richard and God, who am I forgetting here? Trying to think of, but. So because then they created pop music. What the hell is pop music? But they didn't know where to put Michael Jackson. They wanted to claim him, but they didn't want to, so they call it pop music. Then everybody was in pop. What the hell is a pop music? Because we used to always say, no damn pop. That's soul music.
Yeah.
But they started messing around with it, with all that, trying to define things, put a label on it. For us, when there was nothing else, it was American Bandstand. But then Soul Train came along and just blew it out the water.
Changed everything.
Yeah, it did.
Changed everything. I agree with you because I remember that one show you talk about with Prince on it. I remember watching that show and now see, that's what happens when you get old, right now. I'm trying to think of the guy that hosted American Bandstand.
Well, as I know that dude's name.
Hey, we told people up front there may be those pauses where we had that loss of train of thought. What's his name? I can't even think. Now that's bad. Anyway, he asked Prince how many instruments he played, and Prince said like 200, and he looked at him like he was crazy. Prince played about that many instruments.
Yeah, because he didn't smile. He started laughing. Oh, you kid. Prince just looked at him like, oh, hell, I ain't lying.
Yeah, I remember that show just like it was yesterday when he asked him how many instruments he played. He looked at him and sort of laughing. Prince looked at him like, "Nah, I ain't laughing.
I'm telling you.
I ain't laughing." Yeah. So
I read a little deal about him. Soul Train came along. He was giving him a run for the money, and he wanted Dick Clark is his name.
Dick Clark. Oh man.
he started trying to sabotage Don Cornelius and stuff, trying to get it off the air. Because they were cutting into, again, the silent majority, which was black people, was the one that was supporting the dang thing. And then when they had their own thing, they saw that support go. And then he tried to sabotage. They were at odds for years.
Oh yeah. Because he tried to get them to air Soul Train at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon because American Bandstand came on around noonish time, as I remember. Right. And that's when Soul Train started coming. It was on about that same time. Yeah. And when they ratings were starting to take a hit, he was trying to pressure them to have Soul Train come on at a later time. So they was a lot.
And then he tried to get a lot of the black artists not to go on there because he was trying to develop another alternative to American Bandstand for soul music. So he was trying to steal those people. Luckily, they didn't do it, but that kind of fell by the wayside. But when I saw that, because I always, we grew up with it. I thought Dick Clark was on the up and up because he's one at that time. He's the only one that would have somebody black on there, even though it had to be somebody that was in the top whatever. Right. But that was the only time. We were telling Philip the other day he came over here. We was telling him back in the day when black folks didn't have television. If somebody if Sammy Davis Jr. was going to be on television or something, the few people that had them, they put the TV in and want everybody be outside looking
watching.
Yeah. Because everybody didn't have no television. He said, I can't fathom that, Dad. I said, I know you can't.
When I told my daughters, I said, y'all don't know, y'all got cell phones and things. I said, y'all don't know what it is to have just a normal phone that had a party line. That's right. You go in there and pick the phone up and somebody else was talking on the phone. Not in your house. It wasn't somebody on an extension in the house. This was a whole nother person in a whole nother house that was on the same line as you had. And like I said, they call them party lines,
Yes, indeed.
And you put the phone down politely or, in those situations where it was a little bit of an emergency kind of situation, you could actually ask the people, would y'all mind sort of hanging up so I can call the doctor or whatever kind of thing. Well, they was like, what are you talking about? How could you have them? Yeah, there were party lines back in our day.
That's right. And you had to share. You couldn't get on there and sit for 4 and 5 hours talking to you.
That's right. You had to share the line.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. So things, like I say, things have changed. That's for sure. That's for sure.
So a lot of it for the better, but some of it I kind of wish
back the old way.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Hey, Rodney, I'm looking at the time again, man. We supposed to be right at 30 minutes on these podcasts, and we only got through 2 songs. At this rate, it's going to take us 250 podcasts just to give our top 500. But that's what happens when you're unscripted. When you're just talking and having a good time. Before you know it, you look up and time's already gone. But let's let the people go this time, and we'll check them the next time we get on Old Fools Talking Old School. Hey, this is Mickey G
and Rodney T.
All right, folks. Peace.